Good morning. My name is Megan Lancaster, and I will be service coordinating today. Today's reflection, the American River flowing for more than 250 years, will be given by our minister, Reverend Leon Dunkley. I welcome all of you today, and we, the congregation, welcome most especially those of you who may be visiting us today. If you are new to North Chapel, consider signing the guest book at the back of the sanctuary. And if you are feeling particularly brave, take this moment to stand and introduce yourself. Okay? You can find hearing assistance devices and large print hymnals in the back as well. Please, at this time, also make sure that anything that buzzes, bings, or makes noise of whatever sort is turned off. Today, Leon is asking, how do we rekindle courage, freedom, and American integrity in these difficult times? This seems a great question as we celebrate 250 years of America and step and look forward into whatever the future may bring. We are part of this grand experiment, but in considering this, I was moved to encourage you to embrace doubt. As we look around us, it can sometimes be easy to doubt if we are having the impact we want, to question if all our work to make things better is bearing fruit. We want to act. We do act to help build the community, the country, the world we want. But I know that I, for one, experience doubt. It seems to me that a willingness to accept doubt, to question things, is key. I worry much more about a person who stands by their ideas 100% with no wiggle room than by one who is frequently questioning themselves and those around them, learning and growing. A level of comfort with doubt is actually something I've worked on fostering since I was a teenager and found one of my favorite readings in our very hymnal, which was new at the time. So I would share with you something I think I may have shared before. Where did it? Sorry, I thought I marked it, but apparently I marked it wrong. This reading is called Cherish Your Doubts. You may have read it. Cherish your doubts, for doubt is the attendant of truth. Doubt is the key to the door of knowledge. It is the servant of discovery. A belief which may not be questioned binds us to error, for there is incompleteness and imperfection in every belief. Doubt is the touchstone of truth. It is an acid which eats away the false. Let no one fear for the truth, that doubt may consume it, for doubt is a testing of belief. The truth stands boldly and unafraid. It is not shaken by the testing, for truth, if it be truth, arises from each testing stronger, more secure. Those that would silence doubt are filled with fear. Their houses are built on shifting sands. But those who fear not doubt and know its use are founded on rock. They shall walk in the light of the growing knowledge. The work of their hands shall endure. Therefore, let us not fear doubt, but let us rejoice in its help. It is to the wise as a staff to the blind. Doubt is the attendant of truth. I encourage you in your doubt. Celebrate your doubts, hold on to them, learn from them, allow them to strengthen you. Then believe in your own integrity and that of others, and in this way, take one more step towards feeling free. Please join me in our meditation. One more. Consider putting your feet flat on the floor with your shoulders back, head up, breathing deeply. Breathe in, breathe thoughtfully, remembering it is not we who breathe, but the Spirit of life that breathes through us.
There is an angel that softens the soul and lifts the spirit to a higher place, and we can call upon this angel when we need to get our house in order. We can ask for her help to make the world a better place, to make the world more perfect, to make the world more beautiful. Sometimes the angel resides in heaven and blesses us. Other times the angel lives in a plastic sandwich bag. I played a solo concert in South Carolina 15 years ago. I played for a group of Unitarian Universalist leaders. They were gathered for a large conference in Beaufort, South Carolina? Yeah? Okay. All right. Okay, that's right. I used to work at Duke University, and we had a retreat in Beaufort, North Carolina, so I get the message. The gathering took place at a place called the Penn Center, formerly the Penn School. It was an African-American cultural and heritage center founded in 1862. It was founded by Quaker and Unitarian missionaries from Pennsylvania, and it was named after the founder of that province and later the state. It was named after a Quaker named William Penn. The Penn Center is famous for being the first school founded in the southern United States specifically for the education of African Americans. And schools like this were necessary because slavery prohibited basic things like reading, writing, explicitly and by practice and by law. So the Penn Center was founded in 1862, 36 years after Thomas Jefferson died, 86 years after he wrote the Declaration of Independence, and a year before President Lincoln drafted the Emancipation Proclamation. The Declaration was beautifully written. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It was originally the pursuit of property. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute a new government laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such a form as to them shall seem most likely to affect safety and happiness. It was beautifully written. It has endured for 250 years. It's strange to think that Thomas Jefferson was only 33 years old when he wrote those words. He was the same age as Jesus was when he was crucified. The Penn School was deeply committed to its mission of providing critical educational facilities to the newly freed Gullah slaves. History is fascinating. As Annette Marquis and Nan White explain in an article called The Quiet Revolutionary, Reverend William Furness's sermons on the abominations of slavery angered the wealthy members of the First Unitarian Church in Philadelphia in the decade leading up to the American Civil War. Many of these Unitarian Universalists withdrew from the church. Laura Matilda Town was among those who stayed to hear Furness's preach, often with armed guards by his side. And his words left a lasting impression on her. Our dear friend and our colleague, Abby Tennis, now serves at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Philadelphia. Annette Marquis continues, when shots were fired from Fort Sumter in 1861, the 35-year-old Laura Town decided that she must act with the medical training of a woman from the Women's College of Pennsylvania and a love of teaching. She responded to Abraham Lincoln's call for teachers to go south to South Carolina and to participate in the Port Royal experiment. The Union Navy had captured the Port Royal Sound, which is just off the coast of Beaufort, Did I get that right? Okay. South Carolina, where the Hilton Head Islands are. So quickly, they captured it so quickly that the plantation owners deserted not only their plantations, but the thousands of people who they had previously enslaved. The United States government declared these people not freed persons, but the contraband of war, right? And it was set up that the Port Royal experiment, the purpose of which was to prove that if former slaves could be educated and become landowners and serve in the military and build a self-sufficient community, they could become productive citizens in other parts of the South. Laura Town was one of us. The history of her home church in Philly and the gesture of her life are fascinating. They reveal to us the depth and the character and the complexity of who we are. So we gathered at the Penn Center, and we were a couple hundred strong. I started the concert with Angel from Montgomery. That was my habit back then. It's the song that I'm most comfortable with. It helps me to feel less anxious on stage, and I get anxious every time I play. The Angel softens my soul and it lifts my spirit to a higher place because I get nervous and I get anxious when I play in front of people. Less in front of you, but most of the time. Nervousness and anxiety are poor servants to our sense of grace. So I have tried to hide my feelings, but hiding my feelings takes a lot of effort. It's easier to just be honest with myself and honest with others. It's easier to admit that I get nervous and I get anxious. And if there's one thing that I've learned over the years, it's that the Angel from Montgomery calms me down. Plus, I get to ask those who are listening to see beyond their eyes and to think outside their brains when I sing, I am an old woman, which I'm clearly not, named after my mother. The old man was another child growing old. If dreams were thunder and lightning was desire, this old house would have burnt down a long time ago. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Folklore has it that an angel from Montgomery was an official sanctioned reprieve granted by a legitimate representative of the Alabama government. An angel from Montgomery, Montgomery being the capital, had the power to save a guilty man from himself, had the power to save a guilty woman from herself, by pardoning those who had committed crimes, by commuting prison sentences of the convicted, and by staying lawful orders of execution and saving a life. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just giving me one thing that I can hold on to. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go. When things don't go our way, when we find that our backs are against the wall, there is an angel that softens the soul and lifts the spirit to a higher place. And we can call upon this angel when we need to get our house in order. And we need to get our house in order these days, because we're hurting now. Now, that gathering in South Carolina was the third time that people had gathered to have a vote on whether or not to change the name of their district. The name of that district was?
The Thomas Jefferson District.
Thank you, my dear. It was called the Thomas Jefferson District. And in 2011, by an overwhelming vote, which is more than 2/3, the gathered assembly voted to change that name to the Southeastern District because Thomas Jefferson was a slave owner. And because we wanted to stand apart from that aspect of our history, even though he was strongly identified as a Unitarian, not as a Unitarian Universalist, but as a Unitarian. Unitarian Universalism doesn't start until the 60s, 1961. So before that, it was just big U Unitarians. Jefferson was among 5 people identified as Unitarian or Universalist who signed the Declaration of Independence. Does anybody know? I had to look it up. Does anybody know who they are? So Thomas Jefferson was one, Benjamin Rush was one, Benjamin Franklin was one, Robert Payne, And who was that fifth? Oh, John Adams, good for you. I baited that one. Who was that third one? Thank you, Mary. Yeah, and John Adams was one. I bring this up because it's hard for us sometimes. Our conversations get so beautiful about who and how we identify and what we want to have in our past, what we want to have in our past, that we imagine that we can craft that past by excision. If we can remove the name, then maybe it didn't happen, we don't believe. But if we can remove the name, maybe we would not deter the people who would see that name and then not want to join us. Another choice is, my choice would be to make sure that we inform that name with the power of our faith tradition and not pretend that it didn't happen. Pretending it didn't happen feels like what I used to do when I get on stage and pretend I wasn't nervous. Now, I'm not reading anything that was on my computer right now because our printer doesn't work. I wrote half of this before my friends arrived from Schenectady, and I did a terrible job of writing it when they were here because I was distracted by potatoes and poached eggs and a gathering for the 4th of July. But yesterday we sat around a neighbor's yard, 20 of us maybe, and we sang with one another, and we laughed with one another, and we ate with one another. And I thought, this is the country that I love and defend. This is the country that I love and defend. And if the people who force a struggle in me were nearby and I were at my home, my own home, I would invite them to gather around the fire, including Stephen Miller, who, if you don't know, was a student of mine at Duke University. There's a way to love ourselves through this crisis. If we fight, it'll be a really ugly fight. But if we remember how to love, it'll be easier. I came across this passage, I'll say this and one more thing. I came across this passage in Brene Brown, you know Brene's work. She was discussing pride and the difference between shame and guilt. And she said that guilt is preferable to shame because guilt opens towards responsibility and integrity and apology. And that shame is not open to those possibilities because guilt is focused on the action, on the thing that I did wrong, or you did wrong, or we did wrong. Whereas shame concentrates on the self. The language of guilt in her words are, I did something bad, I made a mistake. The language of shame is, I am something bad, and I am a mistake. If I'm feeling that way, it is very hard to look upon the life of Thomas Jefferson and not want to clean it of its inelegance. If I look upon it as a guilty man, and I'm using that word sort of free from modern usage, if I choose to put myself in a position to take responsibility for who we are when we celebrate the 4th of July, then I put myself in a position to strengthen American integrity by saying, yeah, we did that. We did those things. And to be honest with you, to say that I have slaveholders in my family. Many of you do too. And when we can move into that easily, we can lead the resolution of that conversation. If we don't move into it, if we cleave from it, we'll have to battle the likes of Stephen Miller and Duke's good school. He's pretty smart. He's a tough adversary. Enrolling him in a conversation from which he can escape that is wiser than the current conflict is a good way to go. How do we hunger for that aspect of American living? How do we hunger for that? 2 ways. One is by jumping in with both feet into the American River that flows in California, where my 2 lovely friends used to serve as ministers. and that flows through the Ottaquiche as well, and through our hearts. The other way is to find God in a plastic sandwich bag. This is what I mean. Eric Hendricks was a great skier. We skied together for the first time when I was in college. He was much more accomplished than I was. I could barely keep up. There was a group of about 5 or 6 of us. Around 12:30 or so, we paused for lunch. Eric was like, no, let's go up to the top of the mountain for one more run. So Eric's charismatic and strong. I wanted to impress him. We all went up. We get to the top of the mountain. He skis off to the side of the mountain, sits down on a tree stump. So we all followed him as if we were going to do that ourselves, you know. And Eric reaches into his coat and he pulls out 3 sandwich bags with ham and cheese sandwiches cut in half on sourdough bread with mayonnaise. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I was unenthusiastic at the time because I'm not that into sandwiches. And I was like, I kind of want something else to eat, but I'm glad that it's here. And I bit into that sandwich, we all did, some with knowing eyes, some with not. And when I bit into that sandwich, this burst of flavor overwhelmed my consciousness. It was the most delicious ham and cheese sandwich ever, to quote a friend. Oh God, okay. And I asked Eric what was in the sandwich that made the sandwich so delicious. And he said, hunger is the best sauce. So if we're hungry for more beautiful country, we can look for the answer in the angels that deliver us a blessing from heaven. We can make ourselves an amazing ham and cheese sandwich to be eaten at the top of the mountain, or we can soften into responsibility and integrity and take ownership, loving ownership. Who better than we, really, seriously, think about it. Who better than we to take loving ownership of our narrative and to find a way to create that more perfect union and to fulfill on the promises of Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Rush, Benjamin Franklin, Robert Paine, and John Adams. Remembering one thing, that John Adams, abolitionist that he was, Unitarian that he was, in 1821, sat down with his friend and his slave-owning friend named John Calhoun. And together they established All Souls Unitarian Church in Washington, D.C. We have been the house for the most radical conversations of the modern era, and we can continue being so. I don't know that we can get there without complexity, and I don't think that we can get there without courage, but we can get there by way of love, and we can get there by way of compassion, and we can get there by way of the grace that touches us all. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. Would you please join me in our closing hymn, which is number 20 in your gray hymnals. It's called Be Thou My Vision. Would you rise in body and spirit as you are willing and able, and join in the singing of our closing hymn. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing? If we can find that humility, not that strength, but that humility, to dare our best edges, to encourage the highest bravery in one another, to fashion our passion, our energy, our reactivity into something that is graceful and elegant and wise. It's possible to become the storytellers that we need to be right now. It's possible to tell the story of this country and wrest it from the mishaps that are happening around the world, the violence that is happening around the world, the inelegant policy that is happening around the world, the graft that is happening around the world, the corruption that is happening in our country, with easy shoulders and with inelegant anniversaries, like 250 years and 16 days, we can find the wisest and bravest ways forward with our best heart and our deepest compassion. May it be so, blessed be, and amen.